The stars were never quiet. Battles raged across the galaxy every day. Fleets clashed, weapons fired, and the sound of war echoed through every channel. But then, without warning, silence spread across the front. At first, no one noticed. A scout ship tried to send a report, but the message cut halfway. Another fleet called for reinforcements, yet no answer came. Soon, commanders realized their communications were gone. Every signal was dead. It was as if the stars themselves had fallen silent. In a control room on a distant station, an alien commander tapped his claws against the table. His eyes narrowed as static hissed across every screen. "Report," he ordered. His officers exchanged nervous glances. "Sir, we are cut off from the eastern fleets," one replied. Their last message ended mid-sentence after that. "Nothing." The commander's spine stiffened. "Nothing. Entire fleets do not simply vanish into silence. They were preparing for battle, sir," another officer said. "The human ship was sighted at the border, then—" His voice trailed off as if he did not want to finish. "The human ship," the commander repeated slowly. "Only one?" "Yes, sir, only one." Laughter broke across the room. Sharp and nervous. "Impossible," one officer muttered. "One ship cannot silence fleets. They are exaggerating." But the commander did not laugh. His claws scratched deeper into the table. "You do not understand humans," he said. "They are patient. They do not show their strength until the moment it matters. What if this silence is not failure of machines, but something else?" Far away, another fleet drifted in formation. Alien soldiers whispered to one another as they watched the dark void ahead. Sensors showed nothing, yet the silence pressed against their minds like a heavy weight. "It feels wrong," one pilot whispered. "Too quiet. Even the enemy should make noise." A voice crackled through the comms, but it was broken. "Stay sharp. Watch the dark. Something is coming." Then the channel died again. The pilot's hands trembled. "Sir, I don't like this." The silence feels alive. Back on the council world, alien leaders gathered. Their robes glittered under the great lights. They spoke with confidence. "Humans are weak," one said. "They have no empire, no fleets to match ours. If one ship has moved, then it will be crushed like an insect." Another nodded. "Yes, they survived only by hiding behind others. They cannot stand alone." But not all agreed. An elder raised his voice. "Do you not see? This silence is not weakness, it is warning. The humans are moving." The others laughed, but the elder's eyes burned with fear. Meanwhile, deep in the dark, the silence broke. A shadow appeared on long-range sensors. At first it looked like a star vanishing, then another and another. The alien fleet stared in disbelief as a massive shape emerged. Black metal reflected no light. It was not 100 ships, nor even 10. It was one. A single warship sliding from the void. Gasps filled the alien command bridge. "Impossible," whispered the admiral. "It dwarfs our carriers." The ship made no sound. No signal. It drifted forward like a predator stalking prey. "Open fire," the admiral shouted. "Now!" Before it gets closer, thousands of weapons lit up the void. Missiles streaked across the stars. Beams of light carved the darkness. Explosions thundered, but when the smoke cleared, the human warship was untouched. A dark shield shimmered around it for only a moment, then vanished. The alien officers froze. Direct hit, but nothing, one stammered. The admiral's voice cracked. "Impossible! No ship can withstand that barrage." Then the human ship answered. When light glowed at its center, slow and steady, it pulsed once, and a beam tore through space. An entire alien battleship split apart in silence. No fire, no explosion, just broken metal drifting into the void. Panic spread. "They destroyed it with one shot," the officers screamed. "Retreat, retreat." The admiral's claws shook. He looked at the massive warship on the screen. His heart pounded as the silence deepened once more. No words, no threats, no demands. The humans spoke only through action. On the alien fleet, soldiers whispered in fear. "They are not weak," one said. "They are death itself." Back in the council chamber, messages finally reached the leaders. Screens showed wreckage, fragments of their fleets. And always in the background, that same black ship drifting among the stars. "Silent and calm." "Impossible," one counselor whispered. "How could they build this?" The elder who had warned them spoke again. They built it in silence while we laughed. They trained in shadows while we fought over scraps. Now the silence is broken, and we see the truth. The galaxy trembled as the story spread. When human warship had entered the battlefront, entire armadas fell into silence. Commanders vanished, and empires shook. No one dared speak loudly anymore. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, and at the heart of it all, the human warship moved slowly through the void. Its weapons quiet, its presence louder than any words. The silence had returned, but now it was not empty. It was the silence of fear, the silence of power, the silence that marked the arrival of humanity. The council chamber was filled with heavy silence. Alien leaders sat in their tall seats, their robes glowing under the golden lights. They were used to arguing, to shouting over one another. But this time no one spoke first. Each of them had received the same report. A single human warship had entered the battlefront, and whole fleets had gone silent. Finally, one counselor broke the silence, his voice sharp. "This cannot be true. One ship cannot destroy entire armadas. Our fleets number in the thousands. Humanity is a small world with no empire. They do not have such power." Another leaned forward, his eyes glowing with anger. "Yes, humans are reckless. They are fragile. Their bodies cannot endure as ours do. If they appear strong now, it must be a trick. Perhaps their allies aided them." But the elder at the end of the table shook his head slowly. His voice was deep, filled with unease. "It is no trick. I warned you long ago. The silence of Earth was not weakness. It was preparation. We fought wars, wasted resources, mocked them, yet they waited in the shadows, building something we could not imagine." The others shifted uncomfortably. Their pride resisted the thought. But the evidence was clear. Dozens of fleets gone silent. No survivors, no transmissions. Only one ship recorded on sensors. A younger leader stood, his voice trembling though he tried to sound strong. "If it is true, then we must send more. We cannot allow one human ship to terrify the galaxy. Let us combine our fleets. Crush it under our numbers." "Numbers," the elder whispered. "Numbers mean nothing when every shot fails, did you not see? They fired thousands of weapons. The human ship did not even move, and then, with one strike, it erased a battleship." The chamber filled with nervous murmurs. Some leaders shouted, "Exaggeration, lies, fabrication." Others whispered fearfully, "What if it is true? What if this is only the first ship?" At the edge of the chamber, an officer from the military stepped forward. His armor still carried the dust of battle. His voice was hollow. "I was there," he said. The chamber went quiet. "I watched the fleet fall. I saw the human ship arrive. It did not send a warning. It did not ask for surrender. It simply fired. And everything ended." One counselor leaned forward. "How large was it?" The officer closed his eyes as if the memory weighed on him. "Larger than any carrier we have, black as the void. It seemed to swallow the light itself. Our weapons struck it, yet nothing. No shields visible, no damage. Then its weapon fired, not like ours, not energy or missile, something else. Silent but final, the council erupted into chaos. Leaders shouted over one another. "We must unite. We must strike now. We must find their base." But another voice rose above the noise, calm and deadly. "What if there are more?" The chamber froze. Every leader turned. The words hung heavy. The officer spoke again. "If this is their first warship, then Earth has not shown its true strength. What if they have a fleet of them, hidden, waiting?" For a long moment no one spoke. The thought alone was enough to send shivers through even the proudest leaders. The eldest counselor finally stood. His voice carried power, though his eyes showed fear. "We must prepare not for one ship, but for a war unlike any before. Humanity has awakened." They were silent because they were waiting. And now, their silence is broken, a younger voice challenged. "We are not helpless. We are still many. Our empires are vast. If we unite, they cannot match us." The elder looked at him with pity. "Do you not see? They do not need to match us. They only need to show that resistance is death. Already fleets surrender without fighting. Already soldiers whisper that humans are death-worlders. Our people believe it. Fear has already won half the war." The chamber grew restless. Leaders banged their fists, demanded plans. Some wanted to send spies to Earth. Others spoke of forming secret alliances. A few even whispered of retreating from the war front entirely. In the middle of the noise, the military officers spoke again, softer now. I saw the faces of my soldiers when the ship appeared. They are not afraid of dying in battle. They are afraid of silence. Silence that spreads before the ship arrives. Silence that takes everything away. How do you fight something that even the stars seem to fear? The question hung in the air, and no one could answer. Hours later, when the council meeting ended, the leaders walked out with heavy steps. Pride had been wounded, fear had taken root. For the first time in centuries, they felt the shadow of something greater. Far away, beyond their world, the human warship drifted calmly, its weapons quiet, its engines slow, but its presence spread terror across every empire. Reports spread faster than light, soldiers whispered in their barracks. Traders carried the tale across systems, civilians repeated it with shaking voices. One ship had silenced the stars, and the council, with all its power, with all its arrogance, could only sit in fear, wondering how many more ships were waiting in the dark. The alien fleet stretched across the void, thousands of ships in formation, glowing with engines and bristling with weapons. They believed their numbers would crush any threat. They believed the council's orders were enough, yet unease rippled through every crew. The silence that spread before the human ship still haunted them. On the flagship, Admiral Serac stood tall, his spine stiff. "Remember your duty," he growled. "One human ship cannot stand against us. We will overwhelm it with firepower. No hesitation." His officers nodded, but their eyes betrayed fear. "Sir," one whispered, "the reports from the last battle, they said the ship survived everything." "They said—" "Silence," Serac snapped. "Rumors are poison. Believe only your orders. Humanity is fragile. They cannot match the power of our Armada." Yet even as he spoke, the silence began. Communication with the outer patrols cut off. Long-range sensors flickered, then the stars dimmed. A shadow spread across the void. The bridge crew stared in horror as the shape emerged. It was the same warship, massive and black, sliding from the darkness as if it had always been there. No signal, no warning. It simply arrived. The Admiral clenched his claws. "Fire all ships. Fire everything." Thousands of weapons ignited. Missiles streaked. Energy beams cut through space. The void lit up with fire brighter than suns. Explosions roared. For a moment, it seemed the human ship was buried under endless destruction. But when the light faded, the warship was untouched. Gasps filled the alien bridges. Officers shouted in disbelief, "No damage, impossible!" It should have been destroyed. The human ship moved at last. Slow, deliberate. Its weapons glowed with a strange light. A beam fired, cutting across the void. One alien battleship split clean in half. Its crew didn't even have time to scream. Another shot followed, and another, each one tearing ships apart as if they were paper. Panic spread. "They are cutting through us," one captain cried. "We cannot hold," the admiral roared. "Hold the line. We outnumber them 1,000 to 1. Fight, but numbers meant nothing. The warship moved with impossible precision. Every shot from the humans was a kill. Every strike from the aliens vanished against its dark hull. Within minutes, dozens of ships were gone. On one smaller vessel, a young pilot stared at the destruction. Her hands trembled on the controls. "Sir, what do we do?" she whispered. Her commander's voice cracked. "Survive!" The human warship fired again. Entire squadrons disappeared in silence. Wreckage drifted like dead stars. Flames burned. But no sound came across the void, only the silence, heavy and endless. On the flagship, Admiral Serac watched his fleet crumble. His chest tightened, sweat ran down his scales. This is impossible," he muttered, one officer whispered. "Perhaps it is not a ship, perhaps it is a weapon we cannot understand." The Admiral turned, rage in his eyes. "No, it is human. It is their creation, and if they built one, they can build more." The thought struck the crew with terror. If this was only the beginning, what would come next? Suddenly, The human warship shifted, its engines flared, but it did not pursue the fleeing ships. It simply stopped, floating among the wreckage. Its weapons went silent, yet its presence remained, like a shadow over the stars. The surviving ships hesitated. Some wanted to flee, others wanted to surrender. Fear gripped them. No one dared move first. On the flagship, Serac slammed his fists. "Retreat," he commanded at last. "Pull back. Save what remains." The Armada scattered. Leaving wreckage behind, soldiers wept in their stations. Captains sat frozen in disbelief. The silence of defeat crushed them harder than any weapon. Back on the Council world, the news arrived. Messages full of static, images of burning fleets, one by one. The leaders watched the recordings. Ships shattering under single strikes, thousands fleeing from one human vessel. One councillor's voice shook. "Our Grand Armada, destroyed by one ship." Another buried his face in his hands. "If this is true, then the war is already lost." The elder spoke again, his voice quiet but firm. "The humans have shown us only a glimpse. One ship was enough to break the greatest armada. Imagine what they have hidden. Imagine what waits in the silence." The chamber fell silent. No one argued, no one laughed for the first time. The mighty council felt fear not only of war, but of the silence that followed it, and far away, the human warship drifted through the broken battlefield. Its hull black, its weapons quiet, the stars reflected in its surface like cold eyes. It did not chase, it did not boast, it simply remained, reminding all who saw it that the galaxy had changed. Inside the human warship, silence ruled. The bridge was dim, glowing only with soft blue lights. Every officer sat at their station. And steady, eyes sharp, no one shouted, no one panicked. Every movement was precise. It felt less like a crew and more like a machine of flesh and steel working together. At the center, the captain stood tall. His voice was calm, almost cold. "Enemy fleet broken, remaining ships retreating. Do not pursue." An officer nodded. "Understood. Holding position," another spoke. Her voice steady. "Weapons ready, no damage taken. Energy levels remain full." The captain's eyes never moved from the dark screen where wreckage drifted. He said softly, "Good. Let them run. Fear will do the rest." The officers exchanged no further words. Their silence was not fear, it was discipline. Years of training shaped them into this calm force. They had studied alien fleets. They had rehearsed every move long before stepping onto this ship. To them, this was not chaos. It was strategy. Meanwhile, far across the void, the alien remnants scrambled. Commanders shouted over each other. Why didn't they chase us? Why did they stop? Are they planning another strike? Fear twisted their thoughts. Some believed the humans had traps waiting. Others thought reinforcements would soon arrive. The truth was simpler. Humans did not need to chase. They knew fear would spread faster than fire. On the council world, another meeting began. Leaders shouted in panic, "We must regroup. We must send spies. We must discover their weakness." But the elder shook his head. "Do you not see the true danger? They did not fight with rage. They fought with control. Every strike had purpose. Every movement was deliberate. This is not chance. This is design." Back inside the human warship, two young officers whispered in low voices when their tasks were done. One asked, "Do you think they know what we're doing?" The other gave a faint smile. "Not yet. They think this is our full power. But this is only the beginning. The real plan has not even started." The captain overheard but said nothing. His gaze remained on the drifting wreckage. He understood better than anyone. This battle was not about numbers. It was about message. Humanity had been silent for centuries, mocked and ignored. Now one ship spoke for them all. And the galaxy was listening later in the strategy room. Officers gathered around a glowing map of the stars. Red lights marked alien fleets. Blue lights marked human movements. The captain tapped the map with one hand. "They believe we will attack their home systems. They expect aggression. That is why we will not. We will let them fear shadows, while we strike only where it matters." One officer frowned. "But sir, won't they regroup? Their numbers are endless." The captain's voice stayed calm. "Numbers mean nothing when morale is broken. Already soldiers surrender before fighting. Already fleets retreat before battle. Fear is our greatest weapon, another officer leaned forward. And when they finally unite against us, the captain's eyes hardened, then they will learn what true war is. For hours, the human officers planned. Their words were short, direct. They spoke in codes and signals. They anticipated every possible move the aliens might make. To an outsider, it would have looked impossible. How could one warship think to outmaneuver entire empires? But to the humans, it was simple. Discipline and patience won wars before a single shot was fired. Back on the alien fleets, paranoia spread, captains argued. Some wanted to strike back immediately. Others begged to retreat deeper into their territory. Messages flooded the council chambers. We cannot face them. They are monsters. This warship is death itself. One councillor slammed his fist. We are letting fear rule us. One ship cannot be allowed to bend empires. We must attack with everything. But another councillor whispered, and if everything is not enough, the words chilled the chamber. Meanwhile, the humans remained calm. The warship moved through the void like a ghost. Never rushing, always watching. Alien spies tried to track it, but it disappeared into silence, appearing only where it chose to strike. Each time its attacks were quick, precise, and devastating. Entire fleets vanished before they could even form defense. One alien captain recorded his final message, his voice trembling. They do not fight like us. They fight with silence. They fight with patience. Every move they make is a trap. Every strike is perfect. It is not war. It is execution. The recording spread across the stars, and with it, fear deepened. Soldiers began refusing to fight. Civilians whispered of human ghosts haunting the void. Some even believed the ship was not real, but a spirit of vengeance. In the warship's strategy room, the captain listened to intercepted messages. His officers looked at him, waiting for orders. He finally spoke. They fear us more than they understand us. That is the strategy. We do not need thousands of ships. We only need silence and precision. The crew nodded. Their faces calm, not proud. They did not fight for glory. They fought because humanity had chosen this path, and they would walk it without hesitation. As the warship drifted into another sector, alarms glowed softly on the screens. Another alien fleet detected ahead. The officers looked to the captain. His voice was steady, unshaken. Prepare the plan, keep your silence. Strike when ready, and once again the void fell quiet. As the human warship moved like a shadow across the stars, carrying with it the weight of patience, precision and fear, the galaxy had grown restless. Entire sectors spoke only of the human warship. Markets slowed, trade routes emptied, even pirates vanished from the stars. No one dared move without whispering of the silence that came before destruction. Armies that once marched with pride now hesitated. Commanders who once laughed now looked over their shoulders in fear. In the council chamber, tension exploded. Leaders shouted across the room, "We must attack with everything. No, we must retreat. Our empires cannot afford more losses." The chamber had never been so divided. The elder raised his voice, heavy with warning. "Do you not see? The war has already shifted. Fleets do not resist. Soldiers surrender before they fire. Fear has broken us before battle even begins." One councillor slammed his fist. "Then we must break the humans in return. We must find their weakness." But another whispered, his voice trembling. "What if weakness does not exist?" Across the stars, alien fleets tried to regroup. Admirals gathered thousands of ships, promising their soldiers a decisive strike. They told them, "The humans are only one. One ship cannot stop us all." Yet the soldiers looked away. Their silence betrayed the truth. They no longer believed on the human warship. The crew remained calm. The captain stood in the center of the bridge, his voice steady. "They are coming with everything. This will be their breaking point." "Not ours," an officer asked. "Do we fight them all?" "Sir," the captain's eyes narrowed. "No, we fight where it hurts most. Their pride, their belief. That is the true target." The plan was simple but merciless. They would not meet the full fleet head-on. Instead, they struck smaller groups, cutting them apart before they could unite. Each time the alien soldiers ran faster, each time the fear spread wider. Soon, entire systems surrendered without a fight. Civilizations lowered their banners, refusing to send ships to war. One alien soldier recorded a message. Why fight when death comes without warning? The silence arrives, the stars go dark, and then everything ends. The message spread like fire. Even before the next battle, fleets began to collapse from within. Captains received reports of deserters. Admirals heard whispers of mutiny. In one fleet, an admiral roared at his crew, "Stand and fight, cowards. One ship cannot defeat us." But a voice answered from the shadows of the command deck. "It already has." Fear broke discipline. Ships scattered before the humans even arrived. Back in the council, panic deepened. "Entire fleets refused to launch," one leader cried. "Worlds refuse to send soldiers. They believe resistance is suicide," another said. "Our people whisper the humans are demons," the elder's voice echoed across the chamber. "No, not demons. They are patient hunters. They let fear do their work. And now you see the cost of mocking silence." Meanwhile, the human warship entered another sector. The crew worked quietly, every command given with calm precision. One officer reported enemy fleets ahead, numbers large but unstable, morale collapsing. The captain's reply was simple. "Strike once, then disappear. That will be enough." The warship's weapons glowed. One shot cut through an alien battleship. Another erased a cruiser. Panic erupted, and the fleet shattered before the humans fired again. The alien admiral screamed, "Hold your ground!" but no one listened. The soldiers fled, their voices breaking over comms. "We cannot win. They are death itself." Back on the bridge of the human ship, the crew watched the chaos unfold. One young officer whispered, "Sir, they are breaking faster than expected." The captain nodded, his voice low. "Fear is stronger than fire. They fight shadows now, not us." As the alien fleets collapsed, their leaders tried to force order, but it was useless. Messages filled the council chamber, troops surrendering, fleets refusing to engage, entire sectors lost without battle. One councillor covered his face. "We are finished. The war is over." But the elder shook his head slowly. "Not yet. The war is not over. It is only beginning. This is the breaking point, not the end. What comes next will decide the fate of us all." In the silence of space, the human warship drifted forward, surrounded by wreckage. It did not celebrate victory. It did not boast. Its crew remained calm, disciplined. Their mission was not conquest, but survival through strength. They knew the galaxy would never forget what had happened here. And as the stars reflected off its black hull, the truth became clear across every world. Humanity had turned silence into a weapon, and now the galaxy trembled at its sound. The battlefield lay silent. Wreckage floated across the void. Thousands of broken ships drifted like tombstones under the cold light of distant suns. Smoke trails glowed faintly, but no voices came. The stars themselves seemed to mourn in the center of the devastation. The human warship moved slowly. Its engines burned softly, carrying it through the graveyard of fleets. It did not need speed, it did not need noise. Its very presence spoke louder than words. On the bridge, the crew worked in silence, each officer focused on their screen, reporting only when necessary. "Sector clear. No survivors detected," one said quietly. Another added, "Signals from alien fleets remain broken. Retreat confirmed across 3 systems." The captain stood in the center, his voice steady and calm. "Maintain position. Let them see us. Let them remember." The warship was not chasing enemies now. It was leaving a mark. It was turning every broken fleet into a story, a warning to spread across the stars. Fear had already broken armies, but memory would chain entire civilizations. Far away, in the council chamber, the alien leaders gathered again. Their faces pale, their voices weak. The arrogance they once carried was gone. They spoke in whispers, afraid to even raise their voices. One councillor said, "Our fleets are in ruins. Our soldiers will not fight. Entire worlds refuse our orders. They surrender the moment they hear the word human." Another shook his head. "We tried to silence them, but the story spreads faster than light. Every ship that survives carries the tale. Every refugee repeats the same thing. They came in silence, and we were broken. The elder leaned forward, his eyes dark with truth. The stars will remember this forever. Even if humanity sends no more ships, their silence has already won. In the shadows of the chamber, one young leader whispered, "What if there are more? What if this was only the first?" The chamber grew cold. No one dared answer. Back on the human warship, two officers spoke in low voices. One asked, "Do you think the galaxy will ever forget?" The other shook his head. "No, not in 1,000 years. They will teach their children to fear the silence. And that is enough." The captain listened but did not interrupt. His gaze stayed on the stars ahead. "They will remember, but we must never forget either," he said quietly. "We built this not for pride, but survival. Silence was our shield. And now it is our sword." The crew nodded, their faces calm, not joyful. They carried no celebration, only the weight of what they had done. Across the galaxy, the story grew. Traders told of fleets destroyed by a single human ship. Civilians whispered of black steel moving like a shadow. Priests claimed it was judgment from the void. Soldiers spoke of silence that swallowed courage. One alien mother told her frightened child, "Do not wander into the dark, for the humans wait there in another world." An admiral resigned, his message simple: "I cannot lead men to die against silence. I cannot order them to face death without hope." The council struggled to hold power. Some wanted peace, others wanted revenge, but none could deny the truth. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had taken its place, not with words, not with diplomacy, but with a silence that shattered empires. One night, under the starlight of a distant world, the elder spoke to his people. "We thought silence was weakness. We thought patience was cowardice. But now we see silence was strength, and patience was power. The stars themselves hold their breath when humanity moves." Back on the human warship, the captain gave his final order for the day. "Engine steady, hold course. Where to?" "Sir?" an officer asked. The captain's eyes narrowed on the endless dark. Forward, the ship glided into the void, leaving behind only broken fleets and whispered legends. And so the stars remembered. They remembered the silence that fell before battle. They remembered the black warship that moved without fear. They remembered how thousands fled before one. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity entered the war. And though the ship vanished into the dark, its shadow remained, carved into the memory of every world. Silence had become the most powerful sound in the universe, and it carried the name of humankind.